Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 118 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
And boy, oh boy, we got a fucking great show for you guys tonight. It's just the three of us again, and today is all about E3 reactions, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be breaking down mainly Nintendo's E3. Some may call it the savior of E3 this year, by far and away, in my opinion anyway, the best showcase at E3. We're going to be breaking that down in great detail, talking about what we loved, what was missing, what we kind of maybe thought could have been better, but overall, I think it was a great showing, and we'll be diving all into that. Plus, a little bit of a thought at the end also about some of the other aspects of E3 and what we thought about that. Other than that, we've got other news at the top of the show. Before we get into that, some weird suspect Switch system update shenanigans have been going on. Microsoft is announcing some new hardware. Netflix Geeked Week had a lot of cool announcements and a lot more. But before we get into the news, how's everybody doing? How was y'all's E3?
Fucking hype. It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
It's been good. I'm doing really good outside of E3. Lots of cool stuff going on for me. And then it's been, I found this hard to follow E3 because there were all these digital showcases that I didn't get a chance to watch very many of them, which I will have to share my ignorance here soon.
Wow, the guy who's no longer employed didn't have time to watch E3. Would you look at that?
It's funny. Like, I feel like I'm realizing now that a lot of the stress that I had about my job is just me.
Yeah.
Cause now I'm like stressed about things I'm trying to do now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm still losing sleep over
That's
it.
a major part of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because this is the time I have, and I'm not going to be able to stay unemployed forever. I'm trying to make the most of it,
Well, that's going to do it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. We all learned a valuable lesson. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
If you have stress tips, just hit up the comments. Let us know.
Let me know.
Let Patrick know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm kind of a bit in a similar way. It's like I'll be having like a good time, and then like one thing happened that stresses me out, and then it's like, oh fuck, this is my whole life now. You know what I mean? And I totally relate to that. I think it is us. I think we're the problem.
I'm the problem,
and I'm talking white men.
Well, that too.
This is true.
Anyway, yeah, we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, that's great. I'm glad you guys had a good E3. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. Do we have any shout outs, Patrick, before we get going?
Yeah, last week we did our E3 predictions episode that generated a lot of fun discussion on the Discord. Just some people that were involved in that. I'm sure I'm missing some. Included Clicky, DCD, Eelvac, Kuroseta, Cena, VaultBoy309. Also on Twitter, a few people shared and commented on our episode, including Shade and Donnie Meyer, who I think might be one of the people I just mentioned on our Discord. When people have this different handles in different places, I apologize if I'm shouting you out twice, but maybe that's fun for you. If I'm wrong, let me know.
We're trying to out your handle.
I'm not trying to out anybody's handle. I'm just, I have this, I think I know who people are, and then, I don't know. I'm rambling. I'll stop.
No, yeah, there was a lot of really great discussion that came out of that for sure.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody who commented or shared the podcast. Also, I wanted to make sure and mention Playing It Wrong, which is sort of a sub podcast of our Super Switch Headz podcast that just started coming out. It's me and Ant Keeps Gaming playing through the NES and SNES games on the Nintendo Switch Online service randomly. Each week we're playing two of those games.
Random online Nintendo game. I didn't get that until I listened to it. I was like, why the hell are you spelling it like that?
And we'd love to hear from you about anything we talk about in this episode or any other episode. Love hearing from our listeners. Leave us a review, subscribe on YouTube, share our podcast on Reddit or somewhere. send us a listener question. We're going to be hopefully doing a listener question episode sometime soonish. We love to hear all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not going to let you get off the hook so easily, Patrick, from talking about playing it wrong. I really enjoyed episode 1 quite a bit.
Oh, good.
I just want to say I'm a fan of the show. Just if not just hearing you guys commiserate for like 20 minutes was
a lot of
really entertaining. Yeah. So if you enjoy Patrick on this show, you're gonna love him when he's commiserating with an angry Brit. So yeah, check it out. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait to hear the future episodes because you've got some actual like good episodes, good games coming up next in your next episode. So
yeah, actually, it's even the good ones are kind of bad though. As you know.
For sure.
Save States is the best game on Nintendo Switch Online.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's no shame in using save states.
Cool. Thanks for that. Yeah. So we're getting into the news and rumors for the week, other than E3, which I guess technically is the biggest news, right? Like you talked about, the Switch system update 12.0.3 rolled out. And then I don't know if this has ever happened, certainly not on the Switch, but they ended up pulling this small update, which didn't really seem like it was doing much, at least that they claimed. I think it was strictly stability, right? And I'm not sure why. There was some discussion about maybe it was corrupting SD cards. Maybe it was messing up the eShop. I think even Emma in our Discord talked about how it caused eShop problems for her.
Yeah, what I had been hearing, because basically as soon as I heard that there were issues, I just didn't download it. It was actually like multiple days where it was like, download me. And I was like, nah. But I think what the issue people were having was like issues downloading games after you've either purchased them or were re-downloading them from the eShop. Which has happened before, just like when the servers get overloaded. Sometimes you'll click download and it just won't show up on your home screen. So I think it was something kind of like that. Either way, I think they pulled the update, right?
They did, and then they fixed it and put it back out. So since then, it's been fine, but just kind of a funny, weird situation there.
It does make me not want to install updates right when they come out. It's like, why not just wait a couple days to just see what the internet says before you download an update? You might as well.
That's true, right? I'm usually just like boom, boom, get me through this because they don't take very long. But
especially like Switch software updates, which are typically regular, but also don't add any necessarily or
we're not getting any benefits from them.
My kickstand is not benefiting from the stability update, which is the only stability update my Switch really needs. Maybe I want to name myself Simp Master 69. Okay, maybe I don't want them to update the curse word list. Anyway,
so
I've gone too far.
They do update that right every time. The US NPD, the numbers for hardware and software sales in the US was updated. We know we have May information now, and the Switch continues to be the best-selling hardware platform. This makes it, I think, 30 months in a row that it's the best-selling hardware platform. And I think last time we talked about April NPD numbers, they'd kind of taken a dip in terms of year-on-year increases, which had been kind of steadily happening for a long time. But May is back to being a year-on-year increase. Yeah. So video games are just fucking going crazy in the US. The Switch is going crazy still. The sort of interesting next news item, which is like the counterpoint, unless there's any other chart stuff y'all want to talk about in the US. I guess
just kind of holding the line is all I would say.
New Pokemon Snap was on top of Switch software sales, not very surprising. In the UK though, apparently the Switch is no longer the best-selling system for May. It was taken over by I'm not entirely sure. I think both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series pipe systems have outsold the Switch in the UK. So I think that's interesting. I don't know if that's just a stock issue or...
Let's not call it the Series pipe, though. I think we can agree on that, right?
The Series XS.
Yeah, It could be S Pipe X or X Pipe S.
The series pipe.
But just series pipe is, I don't know, that doesn't
it
sound
doesn't
right
sit
to
right
me.
with you?
This is a crazy idea. You could just ignore the pipe. You don't have to say it.
No, there's a pipe.
No, just
I'm looking at an
The
article
series-
right now that says Xbox Series X Pipe S.
Yeah.
Are they going to write it with the pipe?
Just call it the Series SSX, Tricky.
It's series to rock around. I don't know what's going on. I'm making bad jokes. Okay.
We're doing fine.
killing it.
Killing it. So what do y'all think? Is it just the availability of these new consoles that's keeping the Switch on top in the US? Do you think that we're about to see, those systems top the Switch here soon?
You have any thoughts on that, Matt?
I just think we're seeing great software released on Switch that's encouraging more people to buy it. We had Animal Crossing, big influx last year. And just more people are getting it, which other people encourage other people to buy it. I think it's that waterfall effect.
Totally. I had my neighbor over and we played some Smash Ultimate. I think this is the neighbor I was talking about that I played Brawl at his house recently. And he was like, I'm going to get one of these, like it just happens. Like you're saying, that sort of casual, introducing people.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much this really plays into it, but I mean, I just looked up the population of the UK. It's about 66 million, 66 million people. US has got over 300 million people.
Right.
And I think that, it's also a smaller landmass. Everything's kind of consolidated to one area. So I think that, Nintendo of Europe, when making orders for Switches in Europe, it's a lot easier for them to get it out to the people that are actually going to buy it. So you have to think too, that like a lot of the people that have wanted a Switch at this point have one, obviously more people are still buying them. It's not like the sales have stopped in the UK, it's just,
right.
It's probably also easier for the hardcore gamers in the UK to get a hold of the allotment that of Xbox Series and PlayStation 5s that are being sent to Europe. So I think it's just kind of the nature of everything. That's kind of how I see it anyway. And I just, there's just a lot more people that are trying to game in the US currently. And it's just a lot harder to ship across like a giant fucking country when there's a chip shortage going on.
That's the power of freedom, baby. We just want to game all the time.
That's the blessing and the curse of freedom. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right.
Yeah. The UK, not a free state, apparently. Sorry, Ant Keeps Gaming.
So Microsoft, right before E3, announced, like David said, some hardware, but also some software, I guess, that they're planning to do Xbox apps on smart TV. This is going to be its own Xbox app. And I think that's for, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, Game Pass / the xCloud. Or is it both, or is it one or the other? Or maybe just depends on what you have.
They're pretty much inseparable at this point, right? I mean, like xCloud is built into Game Pass Ultimate. It's just the streaming aspect of it, right? Am I right?
Yeah. Well, not every game supports xCloud. I think that's the big distinction between the two is,
right.
Like Halo Master Chief Collection is on both Game Pass and xCloud. And so like certain games, due to the latency, it just can't do it over xCloud, and some of the older, Xbox 360 or Xbox games that are on Game Pass aren't on xCloud. So it's a much smaller collection of games, but still it's a huge amount of games that are on
still
xCloud.
pretty robust, because I had Game Pass before I got my Xbox, and so I was just trying out xCloud on my phone. Like in the meantime, I had it for like a month or two before I actually got my Series S, and it was like I was pretty floored by the amount of stuff that was available. I actually started playing a ton of games that then those saves carried over to my Xbox, which was really cool. So I think it's definitely still worth getting, personally. If they do come out with these like Roku sticks or
and then there's
built-in
the stick
TVs.
is the other thing is they're going to have a stick, and I don't. Maybe you can even download some games, maybe not every one, but I don't know. Kind of like on the Steam whatever that one's called, where you can have it on a smart TV where you can actually download specific games. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that would like need the device to have computing power beyond just the ability to stream video and audio. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, why you're able to fit it into such a small form factor, or even just within a TV, right? So I kind of doubt that personally, unless it's like super small games, and then in that case, I just don't think they would even think that it's worth it to have that functionality. But either way, I think this is exciting. This is definitely helping Microsoft on their attempt to get to 2 billion gamers or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's a side tangent, but in Discord, Matt Shirley was talking about his adventures of like getting an Android tablet to play Game Pass on his TV and like all of this like tinkering stuff. It was just like a fun conversation of what he was sharing and what worked and what didn't work. In order to play,
and now you can just
just totally in order to avoid buying an Xbox.
Yeah. Well, now you just plug that shit right into your HDMI and then you call it a fucking day. No more Raspberry Pis for you.
I don't know if we don't know when this is coming out though, right? Like, did they didn't give a date or
not to my knowledge, but I think it's imminent. I'd imagine we'd see it before the end of the year, at least this stick, and then I think that we'll start seeing TVs with xCloud built in as early as next year.
So it was still worth it for Matt to do that work.
if he needs to play right now, yeah.
The Summer Game Fest E3's competitor, run by Jeff Keighley, had its kickoff event, and it will now sprawl out over the next 2 months or whatever.
Oh God, it never fucking ends.
So they had a kickoff event. I didn't watch this one. Some people were watching it in the Discord, and I can't remember what I was doing at the time, but I had something going on, and it sounds like it wasn't a bad one for me to miss. I mean, there was some big stuff, right? Elden Ring. I know a lot of people are excited about that. One.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic the Hedgehog orchestra concert was teased.
Did it? Is that true?
Yeah.
I
An orchestra played a song from Sonic Unleashed. It was wild.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
And then it ended, and Jeff Keighley was like, I love orchestras.
I love video games. I love orchestras.
Exactly.
There was like a Metal Slug game announced too, right?
Metal Slug Tactics. Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty cool if you like tactical RPGs. And then, I mean, yeah, Elden Ring was really the big one, right? Which they saved for the end, which was the big get, right? Like that was the big, this isn't at E3, but it's here sort of thing. So that was kind of cool to see. It's
more niche, but I've not played the original, but Salt and Sanctuary's sequel, Salt and Sacrifice, was announced.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
I know a lot of people, at least a handful in our Discord and stuff, are big fans of that game, and I've been meaning to check that one out. So that's cool, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for me, the whole thing was kind of a bust. I mean, it's fine. You know, he's out there, he's doing it. He's got a lot of like indie talent, which is cool. And a lot of like kind of AA games, as it were, you know, not to, you know, put them down or anything, but it's like kind of those sorts of games are getting teased, like the stuff that it didn't quite make it into one of the big E3 things. But it's like, yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not a big Souls-like fan, so Elden Ring doesn't seem that special to me. You know, I'm probably not going to get that game. You know, I was watching that whole actually, there's a lot of presentations, even at E3, where the whole thing passed by, and I was like, I'm not going to get any of these, you know? So it's like, you know, definitely, I think it had people that were excited for it, especially people that are big Souls-like fans, but wasn't really for me at the end of the day.
The Devolver Direct also happened, which was technically part of Summer Game Fest and not part of E3, though it happened again simultaneously. So this weird space we're in with these events that kind of coincide. I did not get a chance to watch this one yet either. I do want to watch it, even if I don't care about the announcements, because of what madness they always do with their storyline that continues through all their Devolver Directs. How was this one? Did y'all get a chance to check it out?
Yeah, I think one game they showed out, which is like a Trek to Yomi, which is kind of a samurai side-scrolling game. I thought that looks really cool, really fun. I have no idea what it is, but it reminds me of like a 2D Bushido blade.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, as far as their narrative stuff, like they definitely picked it back up. I mean, this is like a sequel to their previous Devolver Directs, right? And this time they had it as it was kind of because it happened right after the Ubisoft presentation. So it was like kind of parodying that, like the Ubisoft Forward. It was like Devolver Forwarder, I think it was even called. So, and then they had like, it was like a play on Game Pass. It was like Max Pass Plus or whatever. So it was like HBO Max Game Pass. Like it was all about subscription models and monetization and stuff like that. So every time they kind of find a way to take what they've done already and then find a way to make it even more meta than it previously was. And they're continuing to do that. A lot of this took place in like boardrooms at the Devolver office.
Nice.
And there were even a couple, because they're all like fake Devolver employee characters that are being played in the thing. But I did notice one of the characters' last names was Ludlow. So shout out to Kate Ludlow, friend of the show, who's been on before. I was like, I did not miss that reference. So immortalized in a Devolver Direct, at least.
And they always do some weird self-involved game, it feels like. And it seems like they did another one with some sort of Devolver mobile game that you can play. And then I also thought this one is interesting. They announced a physical only game. The makers of Gato Roboto, a game called Demon Throttle, which doesn't appeal to me because it looks like kind of a bullet hell type action game that I'm not super into those, but I just think it's interesting that people are making, I guess it's for collectors in part, right? Or people that are interested in the game too. But like the idea of just making a game that's not available in digital format is strange, but interesting.
Go for it.
Go for it. Do what you want to do. Also somehow ties into Summer Game Fest. There was the Netflix Geeked Week. Somehow Jeff Keighley got this to tie.
He'll weasel his way onto anything, Jeff Keighley. I mean, I like the guy. It's not like I hate the guy, but he's a little weasel.
It does feel like he claims a lot of things.
Yeah, I saw like Summer Games Fest sponsored by Amazon. Geek Week sponsored by Netflix. I was like, I see your $1 billion, but damn, I'm fucking jealous of that $1 billion.
Yeah.
So Geek Week announced a bunch of new shows for Netflix, right? And in particular, I think it was Day 5 that was focused on video game related properties.
Yeah.
So Day 5 showed off a number of video game related new television shows or renewals or spinoffs or that kind of thing, including Cuphead. They showed some stuff from that. Wayne Brady is the voice.
Yo, Cuphead looks great.
Yeah.
Love it. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think it looks great too. They obviously showed off, the creative team for the Castlevania show. Yeah. Announced a new spinoff that's kind of taking place in the Rondo of Blood era of Castlevania. It's going to be taking place in the 1790s during the French Revolution. So the Castlevania story is continuing, even though it's not with the characters from the previous series. But it's cool to see more Castlevania games be represented in that timeline. And then there was The Witcher too, right?
Yeah.
They showed off some Witcher stuff as well.
A number of other video game properties too that we don't talk a lot about, like, I don't know, like Splinter Cell and Far Cry and stuff.
Yeah, they're doing a Blood Dragon show, which is going to be like a vaporwave anime, they said. Yeah.
Captain Laserhawk. I can't wait to see that.
Captain Laserhawk. They showed off very, very brief footage of it, but they had an interview with the creators, like the animation studio, and they seemed really cool and very into the property. That was an Adi Shankar show as well. I think like he's finally really trying to get started on his kind of like multiverse that he's doing. So we'll see how all that goes. It's interesting. They were like, we're going to show off all these like video game properties, but Netflix really has a lot more under their belt that they didn't even show off.
Wow.
You know, they've got the Cyberpunk show still kicking around.
Your Legend of Zelda show.
My Legend of Zelda show that I'm going to be writing, producing, and directing and animating all by myself. And a number of other projects. So I think there's like even a Sonic show. I think they've announced that already too.
That's right.
So there's a lot there that they didn't even touch on.
Netflix is going crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of stuff they're producing.
They kind of have to, and I think they know that like there's all, you know, HBO now and fucking Peacock and Paramount Plus and all this other stuff that's drawing, you know, pulling people away from the user base. I think that they're trying to find. I think that's why they did this whole Geek Week thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's like they're trying to find like a niche and be like, hey, we're here for the nerds and the video game
geeks.
stuff. And, and like, another show I've been working on is that Masters of the Universe show. And they showed that as well. So they're definitely, it's not just video games. It's like all these different kinds of stuff. So yeah. Oh, and there's like 2 Resident Evil shows that they're doing as well right now. So yeah.
Yeah, there's the animated one, and then there's a live action one.
Yeah.
The live action is interesting simply because it doesn't show like any of the characters that we know, like Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine or Leon, but it shows Wesker, and it seems to be lots of like background of like the Umbrella Corporation and like lots of procedural drama kind of stuff.
No, I'm into it. I think that's a really good
dude.
idea.
I love it.
Yeah. Really inspired casting for Wesker as well. What's his name from The Wire? What is that guy's name? I'm forgetting right now. I'm just thinking of the
Lance Reddick.
Lance Reddick. That's right. Yeah. Because I was thinking of that bit on on the Eric Andre show where he's like, "I wish I were LeVar Burton." And he's like walking around, and then LeVar Burton does one where he's like, "I wish I was Lance Reddick." But anyway, he's a great actor. I think it's really inspired casting.
I wanted to talk about these GameStop rumors that obviously all ended up being false because it was fascinating. We did not ever get a Nintendo Switch Revision Pro, whatever you want to call it, announcement prior to E3, like a lot of people were saying.
Bloomberg. I blame Schreier for this.
Jason
Even though
Schreier.
He didn't write the article, but
No, I know.
Still his fault. So there was rumors that there was going to be an event today, the day that we're recording this, the 15th, which obviously hasn't really panned out. And it kind of did. And then there were all these ads that came out where somebody capitalized new in front of Nintendo Switch, which kind of lines up with some of the stuff we'd seen from Amazon, Mexico and all that. So everybody thought, oh, you can trade in your Switch for a new Nintendo Switch.
Just means not pre-owned.
Just meant new, I think. And somebody put a bad capital in. And there was all these Zelda poster rumors. And it turns out you can just get a Zelda poster maybe if you trade in for one of these new Switches. So here we are. E3 has happened. And no Switch Pro. And all these GameStop rumors were just kind of smoke without fire. Here we are.
Shrug emoji.
I just thought it was interesting. If y'all have any thoughts on that, if y'all don't, we'll move on to the sale.
Not particularly. I mean, it's, I think the poster looks cool. I think that people have just been really wanting all of their fan theories to be true. And we'll kind of connect it to anything. I agree that the capitalization on new in the fine print, talking about trading in your Switch for a new Nintendo Switch, was misleading. And it's like, why would you capitalize that? I even think it could have just been like whoever was writing that.
Yeah,
well, I think it could have been a typo, but I think it could have also just been them being fucking trolling. You know what I mean? Yeah, because it's like, I mean, like what? Like Coke? I think it was like Coke Mexico, like the Mexican arm of the Coca-Cola Corporation, like tweeted out like a Coke Pro joke or whatever. like everybody knows that everybody's been talking about this, So I think they're just probably having some fun.
Yeah. To end our news, right now going on in the eShop, there's a big sale. So if you're looking for a new game, it's a good time to scroll through the Switch sales. There's some first party games on sale for like $40-ish. Some of the big ones. Hades is on sale for like $18. It's a pretty good deal. I mean, a lot of games are on sale. Go check it out if you're looking to purchase some games. Good time to do that.
Unfortunately, none of the games on my wish list are on sale, but most of the games on my wish list are like ACA Neo Geo classics. Like,
they're only $2 anyway. Or
no, they're like $8. But I'm like, they're like $8. But I'm like, I don't want to drop $16 on fucking Twinkle Star Sprites and Puzzle Bobble 2. So I'll just wait until they pop up for cheaper.
Gotcha. Well, that is all the news except for the other E3 news that we haven't talked about, which we are going to talk about. We're going to go over the Nintendo Direct and also mention some of the other big presentations after the break. All right, so this week we're talking all about E3 2021, just pretty much wrapped up right as we are talking right now. And we're going to talk mostly about the Nintendo Direct since we're a Nintendo podcast. We'll talk a little bit about some of the other presentations. But I think to open it up, we wanted to talk about the event as a whole, it was different this year because it was all digital. There's a lot of negativity expressed, toxicity, and disappointment. And I know that before we recorded, we kind of wanted to talk about that, if I'm correct, a little bit as a lead in. And yeah, is there anything specific one of y'all want to say? I have some thoughts too, but
yeah, I mean, I'll start, I suppose. I think that there was a lot less to show this year. I think that people are still recovering from. I say people. I mean these gaming companies are still kind of recovering from the past year of not being able to put all their time into. They had to also do a lot of time figuring out logistically how to work from home and how to like continue their operations, during the whole COVID pandemic. So I think that did affect a lot of stuff. And I think that there probably would have been more to show had that not been the case. I also think that, a lot of the issues that people had with E3 this year is like, since stuff was so segmented into different publishers, instead of just kind of the big presentations like normal, and the fact that there were a lot of stuff that was held for Summer Game Fest and stuff like that. A lot of stuff just was very light. You know what I mean? I think that overall the ESA this year was like, we don't have nearly as much big announcements as we usually do. So to me, it felt like they wanted to kind of emulate more PAX or something like that. So there ended up being a lot of panels, a lot of, I thought there were really great panels on representation and diversity in gaming. But a lot of the fucking hardcore gamers, or at least the kinds of gamers that are going to be in an IGN live chat, were not very happy about that, which was interesting because, they're talking about like, hey, we as gamers need to be better about and treating women better, like in the gaming sphere. And then everybody's just like fucking spamming the chat with like emojis of sandwiches and shit. And it was just like really upsetting to see from this perspective. So much so that I kind of just wish they didn't have live chats for some of these, especially during these panels, because it's at the end of the day, like, this is a lot of like Gamergate folks, a lot of the toxic crowd of gaming. And I think that like they really, all that does is perpetuate their own kind of warped worldview more when they're just like fucking talking amongst themselves. So I was like, maybe they should just have to shut up and listen instead of having an outlet to talk over them. But that's my 2 cents.
I think for me, generally E3 was different this year. It felt different. I mean, David, you hit the big part, which is it was light. I'd be lying if I wasn't like it felt weird for it to be so light. And for some of the presentations like Capcom, or, Ubisoft, or what was the one? Bandai Namco, to be like one game or 2 games. It felt weird. And to see all the other toxic negativity and people just spamming the chat with like they want to see Gex, which is pretty fucking funny. But
the Gex stuff didn't bother me as much as the other stuff. Yeah,
some of the.
I also would love to see a Gex revival. So
would you?
I'm there with you.
Would we really like to see Gex?
Actually, Gex probably is problematic. Like, let's get real. I bet he'd get canceled today.
Totally. This is a Gex podcast now. But I think generally, I like personally approach. I saw that negativity and it kind of surprised me because it wasn't just one place. It was everywhere. It was the YouTube comments. It was in, the live chat. I was on Twitch. It was kind of spread across the Reddit comments, kind of everywhere that I went. So as a personal approach, I'm going to really like try to focus in this episode to like talk about the things that I really liked and I was really hyped about, rather than focus on some of the aspects that didn't meet the expectations, because at the end of the day, expectations are on me. That's all.
Yeah. No, totally.
I don't have a lot to add that y'all didn't cover. I agree with David that I think COVID-19 is a big part of why, like it's easy for us in the US especially to start to feel like things are back to normal, but that's only here and now. And it's still not that case in all parts of the United States or in other parts of the world. Mm-hmm. And also, like you were saying, this is all digital, Matthew. Like a lot of these companies have never done these kinds of presentations. Like Capcom's a great example. Capcom told us what we were going to get and people were upset about it. And that's where my mind was confused. I'm like, they said what they were going to do. Everybody's expecting all these companies to do this like Nintendo or something where they don't tell you what they're going to do and have a bunch of surprises. But some of these companies took a different tact, and I don't think that's wrong. In fact, it's kind of nice to know like, hey, that's what they're going to show us. And then you can't be mad, but people were still. So whatever. I thought it was good. It's just different. Like you said, I think there is that, as much as we make fun of it, like the Peggle 2 and stuff, the live element of some of this where there are crowds and you see that does kind of add to it, even when you're not there on some of these presentations and stuff. So, yeah.
I think it'll be back to normal next year. I think that this is kind of just like an awkward year, right? Like it wasn't around at all last year. This year they were like, we're doing it, but they really only announced they were doing it like 2 months ago. Maybe it was longer than that, but it felt like that anyway. And so it's like, I don't think that people had a lot of time to prepare. And so it's like, okay, so we've got 3 games. We can focus on that. We can focus on Monster Hunter Stories throughout like 5 different presentations, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Right. So it's like, I think ultimately it was fine. I didn't have like many problems with it. And like I said, I found a lot of the panels to actually be incredibly enlightening. There was like a panel there was just like a conversation at one point between like 2 esports guys, just like getting real about like fucking like, like their fucking masculinity and like, and they were talking about, he was like, I think I am a narcissist. And he's like, I fall at this level on the narcissism scale. Wow. And I was like, this is fascinating. I usually don't give a shit about esports, but like listening to these dudes just like talk candidly, like about what it's like to be in the esports community or like in that, it was actually kind of cool.
Was that like conversation with like Nade Shot? Because I think that was his name.
I think so.
The guy from 100 Thieves. That was the that was the conversation that I put in the Discord. I was like, what pro gamers do you follow and why?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know who it was, and then he was
they're
like, "I'm
all
Nade
narcissists."
Shot.
No, they all. I mean, to be a pro gamer, I think you have to be a narcissist. But no, it was like, I mean, I found that fascinating. I really enjoyed the. There was a panel with a bunch of female voice actors, which I found to be very interesting. I just always like hearing from voice actors as well. And then, there was just a lot of stuff. I mean, people are just complaining about it being too woke. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's just that complaint just seems so tired to me at this point. It's like, just get with the program, man. There's lots of different kinds of people in the industry, and they all have an equal right to like have their voices heard. And I thought that was a really good part of E3 personally. But I do agree that there was a lack of like reveals like there usually is. And I think that's what was really rustling the jimmies of most of these nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then unless there's any other comments on that big picture stuff, we should move on to the Nintendo Direct in particular.
We've said our piece. Time to move on to fun Nintendo news. Yeah.
Fun positivity. Fucking no.
Fucking Smash. Nintendo didn't even show some shit that I wanted.
So the Nintendo Direct happened the day we're recording this, which is Tuesday, June 15th. It was about, just like they said, 40-ish minutes, a little over 40 minutes dedicated to a bunch of Switch games. It's going to be great. We'll go through it.
Patrick, by the way, I think you won with your 1 minute guess. I think both me and Matt were slightly over in our predictions. Yeah.
Price is right. Did you?
Happens every time.
So they opened up. We had Takahashi and Koizumi.
Yoshiaki.
Opened the show, and they started off with the Smash DLC, the newest Smash fighter, Tekken. We're getting Kazuya from Tekken, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool. It opened up kind of a tease with we saw Ganondorf there. Made you wonder what we were about to see, right? And then he got dropped off of the mountain, as did a bunch of people.
Right.
I saw a really wonderful. So I guess we should talk about this. They're adding this character from Tekken, which I think is great.
I think it's great too. Yeah.
I'm not a huge Tekken fan, but I did play some Tekken years ago and enjoyed it, and so I think I'm excited to see a Tekken character.
Well, it's good to see another Bandai Namco rep. I mean, the only Bandai Namco rep up to this point has been Pac-Man, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like they developed the game, so it's like I think I think it's high time that they got another Bandai Namco rep into the game. Kazuya is a great representation of the Tekken franchise. His whole move set seems to be represented for the most part, which is really awesome. And I mean, other than Smash, Tekken is probably my favorite fighting game franchise. So I was very happy to see this representation in Smash.
Cool. Matthew, do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, me too. I think this pick is it's unexpected. It's not a character that people necessarily wanted, but I think it's a character that people are happy about. And this goes to show, I think, that Nintendo considers Smash a fighting game because we're getting more fighting game representatives in Smash. And I look forward to see what the other characters are.
Yeah, other character, right? Apparently, there should only be one left.
I'm praying and believing that there's going to be more.
It's going to be a bonus.
It's never going to stop.
It's never going to stop.
It's so funny. It's like, like 2 years ago when we were speculating like what the Smash DLC fighters are going to be, I was like, oh yeah, Heihachi or like a Tekken rep for sure. You know what I mean? But then it's like, as time went on and it never happened, it kind of just fell out of my mind that they would ever have a Tekken rep in the game. And so whenever this happened, it was like a surprise, even though it's something that, it always was Heihachi or maybe Jin that I would think would be in the game. But Kazuya, I think, is a great pick, and I'm very excited to play as him.
And we don't know exactly when they'll be released, but there's going to be a Sakurai Presents event on June 28th at 9 a.m. Central Time. That's our time. So probably around then, if not exactly then, we'll find out. And then unless there's anything else on this Smash DLC, that's, I wasn't surprised to see this open the show. I think a lot of people expected Smash DLC to open or close the show. Then I'm
glad they opened instead of closed with that. Yeah.
More expected, right?
I think so. Yeah. And I was kind of hoping for a double reveal here, but I think that, this leaves the door open if we get a direct in, say, September or something like that, for the last character to be revealed there.
Then they showed off Life is Strange. The Life is Strange True Colors games come in September 10th, and the remastered collection sometime later this year. I've never played Life is Strange, but it's one that I've always kind of wanted to check out. So that's cool. That's coming to Switch.
Yeah, this is a great fit for Switch. In fact, when I was watching the Square Enix presentation, I actually said to myself, I was like, why the hell aren't these games on Switch? I was talking to somebody and they're like, that looks really good. Is it on Switch? I was like, no, unfortunately not, although it would be a perfect fit. And then the next day it's like, there you go.
Very soon. A lot of fall games here. A lot of games coming out in the September through November range that are announced here, including
True Colors
those.
Looks good too. I like a lot of the kind of gameplay mechanics in True Colors, kind of using the power of empathy to like kind of determine people's emotional status, and then using that as a gameplay mechanic is pretty interesting.
And they also announced the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy game is actually coming to Switch too, which was kind of a surprise. And I think as we were watching this, David, you were like, is this going to be streaming version? Or, it definitely seemed somewhat surprising to see this game here.
It is a streaming version.
It is.
Also, it is a cloud version of the game. They didn't make that super clear in the trailer, but apparently there was some kind of
text,
small font at the bottom that explained that it was a cloud version.
I wondered, because I was like, this quality, there's no way this goes on Switch. But that makes sense.
It's either Switch Pro or cloud. Yeah.
The new Nintendo Switch.
Right. Excuse me. Yeah. Super Switch.
That's good to know, because that wasn't clear. And I watched this whole thing twice and did not notice that either time. Then they showed off a couple games that I personally am not as excited about, so I'm gonna blast through these, but y'all jump in and talk about them if you want to. Worms Rumble, Astria.
Fucking pumped.
Yeah.
Not really.
I love Worms.
Nothing wrong with Worms.
Worms is the game that I played so much in college, and it's one of the few games that I'm bad at, and I'm so bad it haunts me.
Yeah. I never cared much for Worms.
It's all right. I played a little bit. Astria Ascending, which is looks like a 2D RPG kind of game.
Love the art in that.
2 Point Campus, which is the new 2 Point game from Sega. If you're into the sim type stuff, looks cool. And then I know the next one, David, is a big one for you, so we'll spend a minute on this one. I also have a question about this one too. So they announced Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania coming October 5th. That's pretty
right.
soon.
Very, very, very excited for this. This is like a day one purchase pre-order sort of situation for me. I'm very excited for this game.
So back whenever they announced the other game, right, there was all this like, I guess we'll buy it so that they'll do more Super Monkey Ball. I don't know if that is what caused it or not, but here it is, right? What is this game though? They showed like every Super Monkey Ball game talked about it being an anniversary, 20-year anniversary, but it wasn't clear to me what this game is. Is it a collection of some of the old games?
So it seems to me that this is essentially a remade. It's like a remake of Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, which was an Xbox exclusive game, Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. And basically what Super Monkey Ball Deluxe was Super Monkey Ball 1, Super Monkey Ball 2, and then levels that would have been in Super Monkey Ball 3, but that game was scrapped. So they basically had the extra levels added into Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, and then it had all the mini games from both Super Monkey Ball 1 and Super Monkey Ball 2 included in it. So this game is seemingly that, and it's essentially that with kind of a new aesthetic built onto it. It kind of uses the character designs from Banana Blitz, and in fact, seemingly uses the extra new characters from Banana Blitz as well. They're on the cover art for the game. And so it looks like all the levels have been completely rebuilt, using like HD assets, and there's like new stuff in the backgrounds and stuff like that. But as far as I can tell from the trailer and from all the screenshots I've seen, it seems to be a faithful recreation of the Monkey Ball 1 and 2 games. Although there was a moment in the trailer where you could see one of the characters jumping. I really, really hope that that's a mode and not just built into the game, because the levels are built around not being able to jump. So hopefully that's just kind of an easy mode or something like that for people that might need it, which honestly I think is a great idea to have that as an easy mode, because the games are super fun, but they can be like too difficult for some casual players sometimes. They're like kind of purposefully frustrating. Like you fail a lot, and that's kind of the whole point of a Monkey Ball game. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. It just seems like a really great portable collection of Super Monkey Ball. Why can't I say that right now? 1 and 2. And I love the reveal trailer. I love the whole 2001 Space Odyssey kind of reveal at the beginning. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting this day one.
When the Nintendo reveal, the scene right before they cut to the 2001 scene, they had like a bunch of bananas. A bunch of bananas was like, oh, we're going to get a Donkey Kong.
Yeah, everybody says that, but it was bananas and balls. It was like, I was like, hey, man.
It's a Donkey Kong Pokemon crossover.
Yeah, right. I sometimes do forget that not everyone in the world is an enormous Super Monkey Ball fan like I am, but I am an enormous Super Monkey Ball fan. Like there, like I would say Monkey Ball 1 and 2 are like in my top 10 games of all time, like as a pack. Like I if you count Super Monkey Ball Deluxe as a game, which it is. I would say that's in my top 10 games of all time. So I'm very, very excited to play this in HD in my bed or while I take a poop. Yeah.
Very cool. Then they announced Mario Party Superstars, the new Mario Party game, again, drawing from older games, it would appear. We can talk about that. Coming out October 29th. So another fall game. And this one wasn't a super big surprise because they had announced that online mode was being added into the Super Mario Party, so everyone suspected that's what that was, why that was. Well, now we know it probably is, because this one has online play. You can play online with randoms, you can play online with friends, and you can even like put a little pin in your game and when you're playing with friends. Yeah. And like that's good to know.
I bet you $30 too, or more. 30 whatever. Let's go $30 that those renders that we saw of Waluigi and Diddy Kong are going to be in this game as well.
Yeah, it's a good guess.
Yeah.
Any thoughts or feelings on that? I mean, it's not, Mario Party iterates a lot, right?
And 5 boards seems awfully slim.
Small. Yeah.
Right?
That was one of the big criticisms of Super Mario Parties. It only had 4.
Yeah.
Correct? So,
yeah. I mean, 5 still seems like not that much. I think Super Mario Party 3 or 4 had 6. So it's like if you're taking from like 4 different Mario Party games and you're only taking 1 or 2 from each. That kind of doesn't seem super like a great deal to me, especially if it's like a remix. You'd want to have more content in there. And then I'd say like, hey, well, they'll probably just roll them out over time, but that's what we all thought about Super Mario Party. So,
and instead they just waited another 2 years to make a new one. Yeah.
It feels like this was what was originally planned to be DLC for Super Mario Party that they then just broke off into its own game because the game was selling well enough as was. So
that's a good guess.
Yeah.
I like that theory. I don't like that theory.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
But it's probably right.
I don't like a lot of the things that I know to be true.
World is fucked up. All right.
Yeah. And it's our fault.
And then Takahashi comes back in, and so you get the feeling this is going to be a big moment. And for me, this was the most exciting one of the most exciting things, if not the most, of this presentation. We got the Metroid Dread, the Metroid 5 announcement. Another game coming October 8th. That's super soon. They show off a nice little cinematic. They show off some of the gameplay. They really dug into this one. They announced Amiibo as part of the direct too. Some good looking Amiibo of the new Samus out. Like why can't I think of the word? Armor.
Yeah, it's like her fusion suit kind of evolved. Yeah. And the Emmy, I think the bad guys are called. Those like little robots. There's one of those in that Amiibo collection as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Game looks cool. 2D Metroid. It's exciting. And it's exciting to see how many people are interested in this. It may be a vocal minority because, you hear that Metroid games don't sell well, yada, yada. That's why they don't make them. But it also sounds like this game has had really interesting development history. They put out a little video on this, and I think they talked about this in the Treehouse about how this game has been like canceled twice and now, come back around and they finished it or restarted.
That's right. Yeah, it's the first mainline Metroid game in the series for 19 years, is what they said. The last one was Fusion. And that was technically Metroid 4. So it's very exciting to see this. This is Mercury Steam also. It was revealed that this is them. I have a feeling this game has been done for a long time, maybe over a year, to be honest, since Mercury Steam has already announced their next projects that they're working on. But yeah, it's great to see. There's lots of really cool stuff in the Treehouse as well. Little tidbits of information. This is going to be the completion of the 2D Metroid arc, like storyline that started with Zero Mission or like the first NES Metroid. This is going to be the completion of like the 2D Metroid saga, is what they said. So it's cool to see that Mercury Steam was given the reins to such an important game in the series, and it's not just like a remake of Super Metroid or something like that.
Yeah, we, like you were saying, we've heard rumors about this game and another game we saw announced here, like in early 2020, in January of 2020. I think we were talking about these games. So yeah, maybe they've been sitting on them. They also announced a special edition, not in the direct, that, as I understand it, is selling out everywhere.
Yeah, it's already sold out everywhere.
Bummer.
Yeah. So are the Amiibos. Yeah, all the pre-orders.
So yeah, people like Metroid, even if they hopefully it'll sell well and they'll.
Matt, are you a Metroid guy, Matt?
Yeah, I am a Metroid guy.
Are you a Metroid?
Yeah. This is what I'm excited about. I'm excited to play Metroid. It's been what'd they say? 18 years? Is that what you
19,
said?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
19, I think.
That's fucking crazy. That's so long.
Yeah.
Man, someone in one of the Slack channels at work was saying like, "Oh, I wasn't alive when the last Metroid came out." I was like, "God damn it,
that hurts."
Damn, that hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts. A low blow. But
it's crazy you hire literal children at your job.
Yeah, we have children. Yeah, they're making. I'm not gonna make a joke about that.
No, it's okay.
I'm excited. There's a brand new Metroid, and it's part of the story, part of the canon. I think that's really exciting. I didn't know this, but like Matt Manchester on his Twitter, friend of the podcast, works over at Retro, put a screenshot, I think, of Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, where they talk about Dread in one of the like terminals, like the Dread program, so it connects to that series too, which is what's a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, and there's been at the end of Metroid Prime 3, there was a lot of that. I think at the end of at the end of Samus Returns, there's also some like hints about kind of what would happen after fusion, essentially. So there's been lots of hints like throughout the past couple decades towards specifically the word dread too. So it's cool that they've been finally working their way up to this. And Fusion was such a good game, and it's like I love that they didn't, because I think it would have been a lot easier for them, just from a branding perspective, to like give Samus her original suit again, because that's kind of an iconic look. But they were like, no, you know what? This is a sequel to Fusion, and like she's going to have an evolution of her Fusion suit, and so they seem to be really committed to like the storyline and the canon of that. And so that's really exciting. And yeah, there was tons of stuff there. I think they came on twice in the treehouse to show off Metroid Dread. So very excited to play this game. Yeah.
And I think before we move on, this also gives hope to anybody who's a fan of a dormant IP at Nintendo. I mean, obviously there's other, there's the Metroid Prime games and that, but even those have been, well, point being, like, I think that this shows that if they're willing to revive, and cancel a game and try it again and cancel it and try it again, that maybe we could get any franchise, really.
Yeah. There's one coming up that I don't think anybody really saw coming, which is cool. But also we have to, before we move on from Metroid, we have to say they did at least give some lip service to Metroid Prime 4, which is the first time Nintendo themselves have officially even recognized it since they said that Retro was taking it over. Retro has obviously tweeted about it in the interim, but this is the first time that like Nintendo official has actually said the words Metroid Prime 4 in a long time. So it was good at least to hear them say, hey, we're still working on it. It's going great, but here's something else, Yeah.
Then they went through a few games and other ones we can go through relatively quickly. Just Dance 2022, Cruisin' Blast, which we kind of talked about a few weeks ago. There was a leak on this one coming out in the fall. This was my son's highlight of the direct, by the way.
Looks super fun, and I've heard the arcade game it's incredible. So,
yeah. And we got a new Cruisin' song.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, sure didn't look like Cruisin' USA, but it's definitely sounded like Cruisin' USA.
Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, also coming out in the fall to Switch. Like, I think while we were watching this, David, you said all the Dragon Ball games come out a year later to Switch.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
At least. I guess this would be more like 2 years or a year and a half.
Matt, you played Kakarot. Is this worth picking up?
It's probably a good $20 game if you're a fan of Dragon Ball. It's worth whatever price it's going to be. But if you're not, you want a brawler action adventure and like a casual Dragon Ball fan, then maybe wait for it's on sale. It's an okay game. Yep. But cool. If it's a great Dragon Ball game, not necessarily the same as a great game.
Good to know.
They showed off more Mario Golf Super Rush, which is coming out in just about less than 2 weeks. And they confirmed that there's going to be some free updates to this game, which is, we kind of all suspected, but it's nice to know that they're going to be giving us some new courses and characters over the course of some amount of time. Wasn't really a lot of information on that, but I expect we'll hear more about that later.
They jumped into this game a lot in the treehouse as well. And yeah, I mean, I was already going to get this game, but I'm even more bolstered in that decision to pick up this game. It looks very full featured and looks like a ton of fun. I can't wait to pick it up.
And they showed when they were talking about new courses, a New Donk City course, which looked cool.
Yeah, I think that'll be in the downloadable content down the line. Yeah,
I didn't see that. That sounds cool.
Yeah. And then, like David said, this was in every presentation. Monster Hunter Stories 2. You can get your Hunter Stories 2 info anywhere. So we'll move on.
Yeah, it looks really good. It does look. I won't be buying this game, but for fans of the franchise, it looks really, really great, to be honest. Yeah.
And there's a demo. I guess that might be some of the newer news, is there's a free demo on June 25th. So that's soon. But then the next thing was pretty big. WarioWare, Get It Together, a new WarioWare game coming very soon, September 10th. And they showed off a 2-player mode as well as part of it, a co-op segment or mode.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
And it is $50. So that survey they sent out asking if, I guess, enough people said yes to that, and they priced it at $50.
Thankfully, they didn't send it to tons of Davids who would have I will pay $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this looks great. I mean, are you guys WarioWare fans?
I've never played a WarioWare game.
Fuck it.
But
David's
David is
pissed.
slowly leaving.
Yeah, get out of your Lego City and come fucking play WarioWare.
I expect to, especially the 2-player mode. I think this will be a fun one.
Yeah, it's
for
funny
me and
because
Sam.
this looks like a decent departure in some ways from a normal WarioWare game, where in WarioWare, it's always like Wario is the guy making the games, or whoever the characters are in it are like making the games for you, the player, to play. So it's always very much like, move this thing, you know, or like you're using a stylus for the DS game, or tilting or whatever. It's always very much like the games are being pitched to you as the consumer. And in this game, I think the departure of it is that you play the characters in every single micro game. So it's like, so you're actually moving around as Wario or as 9 volt or 18 volt or whatever. And each character has their own abilities. So every time you play one of the micro games, it might be slightly different depending on the character that you're playing as. So that's kind of a cool twist on it.
Question: were the WarioWare games all previously handheld games before? Is that
No.
partly why? Okay,
No, there's a GameCube version, there's a Wii version, and there was a Wii U game as well.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I just missed them. All right.
Just one thing to say is, as David, as you were talking about WarioWare, for our YouTube watchers, you know this, but what you were saying synced up 100% exactly with the video that I was showing. And the whole time I was like, oh my God.
No post-processing done on that.
This is
That
all
shit was
live.
fucking live.
This is proof that God is real.
God's good, God's real, and he's American.
and he listens to Super Switch Headz.
And he gives us gifts through Streamlabs.
God isn't a man. All right, moving on.
He's a celestial being.
Shin Megami Tensei 5 was also shown off. The leaked date obviously ended up being true, November 12th, 2021. I've been really on the fence because I'm like trying to try out new Nintendo exclusive games. This might have sold me that I definitely want to try this out. It looks very nice.
Looks really good. Yeah.
So I don't know. It looks, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I might give it a shot. We'll see.
It looked like
this game,
Xenoblade game, which I'm into, so I might pick it up too.
Yeah. I mean, this game just looks like fucking dense, right?
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
part of what scares me about it.
Yeah, it looks super dense. And I mean, they announced this back before the Switch even came out. You know, this is one of the very first games that they announced back when it was just called the NX. And so it's like, this game has been in development for at least 4 years, probably longer. And it's, I don't know, it's looking really, really good. It looks like they've got lots of different systems in there. I love the idea of being able to fuse different demons together that you can pick up to then fight that on your behalf. And that seemed really cool. And yeah, I mean, just the graphics look really, really sweet as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm you guys know me. I'm very wary of JRPGs, but it's like I'm even tempted to pick this one up.
Fair enough. They showed off, I can never say this one, and Danganronpa, however you say that.
Danganronpa.
Ronpa?
Ronpa. Danganronpa.
It was really funny when we were watching it. You said it, and then they said it the right way.
No, yeah, I said it wrong, and then they were like, David, it's pronounced like this.
This is an interesting. These games, I don't know much about them, but they've got it's called Danganronpa Decadence, and it's all the games, or 4 different games, kind of in one collection if you buy it physically, or they're all separately available digitally sometime later this year. I don't know much about this franchise, but if you're a fan, that looks like a good thing for you.
It's a visual novel, Patrick. It's time for you to pick it up.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks a little crazy.
It does look crazy.
like a little too much for me.
It's a visual novel with Mario Party added into it.
Yeah, with like a board game.
Yeah.
That just made me go, what? What is this? A Fatal Frame, Maiden of the Black Water, Koei Tecmo Wii U game was announced. It's coming to Switch sometime later this year. And somebody else, and one of you pointed this out, like we're really getting all those Wii U games, all those Wii U exclusives that are coming to Switch. Not much left.
Star Fox Zero is like the only holdout, like one of the only holdouts. Yeah. This is great that this got ported because this never got a fair shake. And I haven't played this game personally, but from everything that I've heard, this game is fantastic. Is one of the best Wii U exclusives, as I understand it. So yeah, definitely looking forward to checking this one out.
They showed off kind of a quick bunch of games and DLC here. The Doom Eternal DLC. They showed off Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 collection. A game called Strange Brigade. And then the Mario and Rabbids game, which was previously announced was previously leaked by Nintendo and then announced by Ubisoft. But that's coming sometime next year. This game looks pretty cool. I loved the first one of these games. So I think if it hadn't been announced at the Ubisoft conference and I wasn't already aware of it, this would have been a much bigger highlight for me of this direct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it still is exciting.
Ubisoft needed it at their event. Mm-hmm. It was pretty much this and Avatar were the only things that anybody gave a shit about from the Ubisoft event. So that's definitely why it was there.
But to talk about it for just 1 minute, at least, if y'all are cool with that. It's not grid based anymore, which I think is really interesting. It sounds like you have just a zone of movement and you can, kind of freely choose where you go within that zone of movement, at least from what we can tell from the trailer, which kind of breaks my brain about how this is going to work a little bit. But I think that it's cool that I would have been very happy if it was the same game with just new maps, you know what I mean? But it's cool that they've mixed up the mechanics, and at least we know of Rabid Rosalina, but I assume there might be another couple characters that are new as well.
You've got the Luma Rabid as well. Yeah, and so that looks really cool. I think I think the free movement actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's kind of the same as a grid-based system. It's just I think you're then proximally dependent. Is like how much the ratio of your hit to miss average is kind of just based on how far away you are from them or whatever obstacle is in your way. I guess before it was just easier to do that based on a very limited number of tiles. But I think this just probably brings it into more of a, I bet like the ratios will be a little bit more fluid as you're, going further and farther back.
Yeah.
And not a great sentence, but I think you guys thought what I was saying.
But I also think it could make for more interesting maps and that kind of thing too. So yeah, We'll see.
I love the idea of it being galaxy themed as well. It's definitely got like a Super Mario Galaxy feel to it. Because one of the great things about that game is like just the number of different planets allows for a lot of biodiversity and different biomes and all these different sorts of things. So I think that we'll just be seeing a lot of variety in the environments, which was kind of one of them. If you had to criticize anything about the first game, that was maybe a lot of the areas felt a little samey. So it'll be cool to see a lot more variety in this.
And maybe they got rid of the grid because they are bringing Advance Wars back, and they wanted that game to shine as a grid-based tactical.
Did they show these back to back? I guess they did.
Yeah. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. It's like they are remaking the Advance Wars games coming out in December. This was pretty cool to see. I know there's a lot of people who like Advance Wars. Matthew,
I never played Advance Wars. Just generally, I love that we're getting tons of new tactics games. It feels like tactics games, tactic style, tactical RPGs are like everywhere.
That's true.
I love to see that Advance Wars is coming back, especially in the resurgence of this kind of genre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just nice to see Nintendo going back to dormant IPs.
Yep.
Right? Dormant as opposed to extinct or dead, right?
Yeah.
Because I think pretty much every IP at this point you can say is dormant, and like Nintendo could go back to at any point. I think Advance Wars kind of proves that. And I love the upgrades visually that they've given to this game. I think it looks really great. I think I loved the pixel art before. I think that was a great aspect of Advance Wars, and I did play the first Advance Wars. I love that game. But it's this, I think they like faithfully recreated in kind of a 3D environment. And then the kind of anime style characters and the little bits of movement that they have is a really good update to the characters in this game. So yeah, I'm excited. I do find it a bit unfortunate that this game is $60. Wish this was 40, especially when you look at Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2, which is 40, and and is arguably a bigger bang for your buck. But it's those Nintendo first parties, man. They'll juice you.
So after Advance Wars, Koizumi comes back and says this is going to be the final segment. And they show off Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity DLC. So we know that we're in a Zelda segment here. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity DLC Wave 1 Pulse of the Ancients coming June 18th. I don't know if there's anything you want to talk about with this. I guess it's
I love the fact that one of the playable characters is a guardian. That looks fun.
That is really cool. Yeah.
I think those are the type of fun things that Koei Tecmo can do, is to have these characters that like are fun to play but don't really matter to the overall story or like story of the actual game. It's just like fun.
Yeah, and that's why if they do a Mario Warriors game, I want to be able to play as the T-Rex from Mario Odyssey.
They also showed Link with sort of a weird, I don't even know what you call it, weapon that like definitely felt like maybe a tease for something. Like
it was like an energy hook shot sort of thing, right?
Yeah, like nunchuck hook shot.
They look like the legs from the little droid that Link just ripped off the legs, put energy between them.
So I was thinking more like Mickey Rourke's weapons from Iron Man 2, when he's like
Whiplash.
Whipping people. Yeah. I guess everybody knows that character's name.
Yeah, Whiplash. He's got whips, David.
I don't think they did a good job calling him Whiplash in the film.
Yeah, but, they were just like, this Russian guy.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, the other one's coming out, the other half of that DLC is coming out in November. You had a feeling they're going to show something bigger Zelda-ish after this, right? So Aonuma comes out then and talks about the Hyrule Warriors DLC, and then talks about Skyward Sword, which is coming out July 16th, if you didn't already know.
Was there any new information in this Skyward Sword announcement? I didn't
catch any. No, it's pretty short. Yeah. And it just kind of, he talked about it and talked about the dual Joy-Con method of playing it for motion, or the button and flicking a stick, which I'm still very curious what that's going to look like or feel like.
Just play Dead Island, the original Dead Island with analog controls. That's the best way to play that. I've talked about it on this podcast before, but that's the best way to play that game. It's a very unique battle melee system, which I hope basically Skyward Sword just rips off, because I've never seen another game do melee mechanics like that. And that game kind of sucked. But like the fucking melee mechanics were really awesome in that game. So I hope Skyward Sword just does it exactly like that.
The only other thing I thought of note was kind of that he emphasized the origin, like how it's the first Zelda game chronologically speaking. That seemed unnecessary, but maybe that made me think that might tie into the sequel to Breath of the Wild somehow, which then kind of does feel like it might. We'll talk about it. Mm-hmm. They showed off the Game & Watch Zelda edition, also coming out in November 12th.
We knew it. We knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. Matt made a fucking episode art with it.
We knew that was going to happen, but it sounds like there is no, he specifically said there are no campaigns or games planned for the 35th anniversary. I mean, other than Skyward Sword, it didn't say that, but that's, so they could, who knows what this means? We can analyze that now or later if y'all want.
Nintendo says that they don't have plans for stuff a lot and then does them. I think that their idea of what we're not currently planning on that is very fluid. I would definitely not be surprised at all to see Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD come over. It might, I just don't. This has been speculated before. They don't want to say we're putting out a 2-pack of games. Or even just we're putting these out as digital versions, like Twilight was on the Wii U, is just digital. I don't think they want to put out those while they're still trying to sell copies of Skyward Sword. So if we do see those, it'll probably be next year at this point. But yeah.
and it seems like we've talked about before, like they had like to hold things and then kind of see what happens. Maybe they were hoping that what we're about to talk about was going to come sooner, or maybe that'll fill a gap next year if it doesn't come out. Well,
that's true. Yeah,
I'm dancing around the Breath of the Wild sequel.
but before we get to that,
the Game and Watch.
Yeah, I think we're going to go down a big path with Breath of the Wild too. But let's talk about that Game and Watch really quickly, because I got I spent $50 on that Super Mario Brothers Game and Watch, which I don't regret. It's mainly a collector's item as far as I'm concerned. I like how it looks. I mainly use it as a clock. I just keep the clock mode running at my desk. But this Zelda one is like 3 times the value of that Mario Game and Watch. I mean, Mario did have the original Super Mario Brothers and Lost Levels built into it, but this Zelda one has Zelda 1, which is a pretty expansive, long game that's really difficult to complete. Zelda 2, which is a completely different style of game completely, where like Mario Brothers Lost Levels really just feels like extra levels for the original game. And then it also has Link's Awakening for Game Boy also built into it. So you've got 3 like full Zelda games built into this thing, plus like a Game and Watch reskin with Link. I think it's Vermin is the game. So I think that's actually a really good deal. I think that they probably heard some complaints about the original Game and Watch that they put out for Super Mario being a little light on features. So I was very excited to see that they were actually pumping quite a bit into this thing.
Totally. And then now, Breath of the Wild sequel?
Yes, I give you permission to move on, Patrick.
Thank you. Whew, okay. Then
I'll just set this one out. So I've done the bit where I'm wheeling away too much.
Talked about how it's been 2 years since they announced the sequel to Breath of the Wild, and they have some new footage to show. And they showed the trailer, and we'll talk about that. But then afterwards, he talked about how they're aiming for a 2022 release. They showed 2022 on there, but that aiming for sure makes you not feel as confident in it. And we'll talk about a lot about the footage. And he also talked about how it's been expanded to include the skies of Hyrule. And they show footage of him falling and kind of doing some things up on floating islandy things, which seems to tie into Skyward Sword, which makes you wonder if that was related in other ways. I don't know. Mm-hmm. What do y'all think about this footage? What do you think about Link's arm or any of the other weird mechanics we saw?
Where do we start? Where do we begin? I think the arm is the most exciting part. Got rid of the tablet. Yeah, we don't have to have what would be a Wii U anymore.
Right.
It's gone. It's just now part of his arm.
It's built in, yeah. It's got a Joy-Con now.
It's built in.
This is the first Switch exclusive Zelda original game, right? So they no longer have to put the peripherals in.
Which means we're going to get a Switch Pro. It's going to be in our arm. Yeah. That's exactly what that means.
It's a super arm.
This looks great. I love... I kind of felt that it would be more vertical. That's what I wanted more. I wanted that sense of freedom, the sense of exploration vertically. And hopefully we'll be able to, jump from kind of some of the floating islands down to kind of the mainland.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And what that looks like and what some of the vehicles, if any, they could be, or like if there's going to be loft wings. Just the very quick, brief glimpse makes me pretty excited. I'm pretty stoked for it. It was cool.
Yeah.
I knew we were going to see it. I had a feeling that we were going to see it, and I'm glad we saw it. And the gameplay looks super fun.
Yeah,
it wasn't a ton of footage, and it was
like a minute and a half, right?
It was still kind of disjointed, like the original one. Like it didn't feel like it flowed or made any sense. I mean, a little bit. Just they're being really dodgy about what's going on with this one.
Well, you never saw his face, Link's face in this. You only ever saw him from behind.
And he looks different. Like there's two appearances, right? Which again lends credence to that possible dark world or different Links in different places or times or something, where it looks like the Link from the first Breath of the Wild. And then it looks like he has sort of, I don't know, more free but cropped hair.
Yeah, he's got shaggier hair that isn't pulled back into a ponytail like it is in the first game in a lot of the shots, which is really interesting. And I think that something basically, I get the feeling that like what we saw from E3 2019 is early in the game, or like an early cinematic, right? And that what kind of happens at the end of that E3 2019 trailer is kind of then what kicks off the game, right? I feel like a lot of that is the prologue, and I think that there will be some sort of time jump or some sort of because he's clearly kind of deformed in this. You know, he's got it looks like he's got an arm that is being corrupted, and it's very Princess Mononoke. Like the first Breath of the Wild was very Princess Mononoke like inspired, I feel, all the way down to the music, the aesthetic, the kind of Miyazaki-ish visuals. And this kind of even gives me more of that with kind of the corrupted arm, and you can see it growing like up into his chest and stuff, kind of tendrils going up like this. So I think whatever they did in that kind of dungeon at the beginning with that Ganon corpse or whatever kind of infected Link in some way. So I'm very excited to see what that means, both from a story perspective and from a gameplay perspective. As like you said, Matt, it seems like now he's kind of imbued with the power of that tablet from the first game, which I think is a really cool way to kind of do a sequel, you know?
Yeah, I wonder if like so if Link's arm is corrupted, then some of the ancient technology is kind of holding back the corruption, and maybe it's got some time mechanics behind it. Or
I love that idea.
Some consumable mechanics behind like holding back the corruption, but maybe you can use the corruption for various things. It's like light versus dark kind of Star Wars shit.
We saw him like kind of phase through the underneath of the thing and then come through the ground.
Up. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah,
I think that's going to be some of the
vertical,
the vertical, the movement from like the ground to the sky, like quick, like fast travel kind of stuff. That's my understanding. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. What did you think about it, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean everything y'all said, and then I think to echo Matt, like the time aspect. You know, they like, once again they had this in the first trailer too. They have like weird backwards vocals, which makes you think there's something going on with time or going backwards or something.
There's a lot of time stuff in Age of Calamity as well.
Yeah. So I think there's a good chance that we're seeing some sort of multiple worlds, time travel-y, multiple times something. I mean, it's Zelda trope already, but
right.
I'm still really holding out for like playable Zelda. They didn't obviously show that, but maybe there's less chance after seeing this. I don't know.
I didn't get the feel that Zelda's playable in this. I mean, one of the very first shots you see is her falling down into a chasm, right?
Yeah, this definitely didn't help with that hope or whatever this trailer. I still want it, but so I'm not giving up hope, but it didn't show it off. It kind of made you think you're switching between links.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm more convinced that what we saw in 2019 was like an opening cinematic sort of situation, or part of one of the cinematics of the game. But yeah, I also get the feeling that, you know, because they showed a lot of the sky stuff in this, which is awesome. And I love that aspect of it. It's a great way to keep the original map in while also adding that extra layer. I think we're also going to get underground, right? Because, you know, the castle is being lifted up and there's a huge fucking hole in the ground and we see Zelda fall into that chasm. I think that we're going to be exploring both above and below Hyrule as well, which I think is a really cool way to go about it. And maybe I'm wrong there, and maybe I'm getting my hopes up a little bit, but I definitely got that feeling.
I did too. And I think, you know, we all thought it was underground based on the first trailer, and it just kind of felt like it was. And then it was a surprise to see the above ground stuff, but it still feels possible. Like you said, there's still this big hole. There's still that first trailer. So we'll see. But yeah.
I feel like that Loftwing amiibo is like all but confirmed to give you a Loftwing that you can turn into, like much like the wolf amiibo from
you can get a Loftwing friend.
Yeah, exactly. How like the Twilight Princess amiibo would turn you into a wolf in Breath of the Wild. I think that we're gonna get that in this, which fucking is gonna make me buy that goddamn thing. I know I don't want to, but we'll see.
Well, that was a long discussion about the Direct. I mean, and we could probably talk about a lot of parts of it even more if we wanted to. As a whole, I thought this Direct was really great. I think it had a lot of games that I'm interested in picking up that were previously unannounced, as well as showing some games that, you know, I'd heard of and that kind of thing that I'm even more interested in now after seeing a little bit more of them, like Shin Megami Tensei 5 and stuff. So I think this was a big success personally.
Yeah.
You know.
What would you guys rate this direct on a high school grading level?
On a high school grading.
On the high school grading.
It's definitely an A, right? If not
I feel
even
like this. Yeah. I feel like this is an A or an A- at the very least. I've seen some people soured on it, and I think a lot of them just wanted stuff that wasn't in there. For instance, a lot of people were talking about a new Fire Emblem. A lot of people were talking about a new Donkey Kong. We didn't see any of either of those. We didn't see Bayonetta 3 for like the fucking 4th year in a row. Where is Bayonetta 3? So there's a lot that was missing, but I think, they said at the end, we've got more stuff that we're working on that we didn't even talk about here that we're going to be saving for the future. So I think we'll definitely be seeing another direct before the year is over with a lot of that extra stuff. Any fucking direct that has, let me go through this again. Any direct that has Smash DLC, Super Monkey Ball in it, WarioWare, Breath of the Wild 2, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2, bringing back something like Advanced Wars. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, it hit. I felt like this one was made for me. There's a lot of directs that come out and they're like, I didn't even say Metroid, like a brand new Metroid game. Like I felt like so many Nintendo Directs recently have been so like JRPG focused and stuff like that. And I'm happy for people whenever those come up, but this one felt like it was made for me, and so I would definitely give this an A.
Can you score it, Matthew?
I can, and I will. It's an A.
Yeah.
For all the same reasons that David said. I think Koizumi said at the very beginning, he's like, maybe while you're watching this, you'll find a game that's for you. He's clearly saying that it's going to cover a wide range of genres, a wide range of third-party and Nintendo franchises. And that's exactly what we got. 40 minutes of surprises, 40 minutes of games that we saw that like, oh, yeah, I'll play that. I would love to play Life is Strange on Switch. Mm-hmm. We got some surprises. We saw Breath of the Wild 2. We got a fucking new Metroid game. I can't even believe it. I can't believe we got a new Metroid game. It doesn't make sense in my brain. I still gonna process it. Ask me in 2 weeks if I still believe it.
And not just a new Metroid game, Metroid 5. It's like the conclusion of the Metroid saga we know is coming soon, and that's so exciting, man. I love it.
That's great. I think before we move on to maybe mentioning some of the other conferences, I know this is going to be a long episode. Is there anything specific to the Treehouse? I did not get a chance to watch any of the Treehouse stuff. I'd love to hear if either of y'all got to see a little bit of it, if there's anything that stood out, seeing some of these games in action that were just announced.
I have one thing. This just goes to show what Nintendo does differently is they spend so much time on their games, and because they spend so much time on it and it's done and they can show it off.
Yes.
So immediately after the trailer, they're like, let's show you exactly how it plays. Let's spend 3 hours and show you the game, show you the gameplay, answer all your questions. So it's been cooking in the oven. They're ready to show you that food. And it's cool to see. That's what makes Nintendo different.
That's a really good point. Yeah, it's like, it's not just when they show off their games at E3 or in a direct, especially when they have this treehouse afterwards, it's not just a vertical slice, right, of the game. It's like, this is already got the Nintendo polish on it, right? And even like they were showing off Super Mario or the Mario Party Super, what's that fucking thing called? Anyway,
Super. You got it.
They were showing off the Mario Party Superstars, and they were like, "Oh, please excuse us. This game is still in development, so you're gonna see some issues like that." And I was like, "This game looks fucking done, man. like this already has so much polish on it, And they were like apologizing for it. It was like, dude, this is fine." But yeah, so I mean, that is kind of a thing that sets Nintendo apart for sure. I think there were a couple things that were in the Treehouse that weren't in the Direct, namely No More Heroes 3 was shown during the Treehouse, which we actually predicted that would be in the Treehouse and not in the Direct. So I was happy to see that. They did show quite a bit more of WarioWare. Actually, they didn't show a lot of it. That was actually one of the shorter ones that they showed in the Treehouse, but it did answer some questions that I had after watching it, which was like, is this played with motion controls? Is it not? And it seems like it's all button controls. So it seems like you're able to control it with sticks and buttons, either in handheld mode or on the TV, which I think is good for me because that's a game I'd want to play. Like I'd want to be able to play portably if I wanted to. So I'm happy to see that. And yeah, it was just great to get some insight into Metroid 5 and or Metroid Dread rather, and some of the development stuff that was talked about there from like the original Metroid creator was really insightful, and I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Nice. Well, I'm sure I'll go back to some of the videos or check out some of that stuff because I'm excited to see some of that stuff in action myself. But
it's all part and parcel on their YouTube channel now. So,
what about the other conferences? There was, a bunch of them that don't always do it. We kind of talked a little bit about some of them, but Microsoft was maybe one of the big ones we should mention. I don't know, the Square presentation. Is there anything y'all want to talk about from those? I mean,
David, what'd you think of the Microsoft conference?
I loved it. Yeah, I would say Nintendo was the best conference at E3 this year, and then Microsoft was a not so close second, but still leagues ahead of everything else that was shown at E3. I think it was Nintendo and Microsoft were the only real reasons to tune in this year, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
There was a lot of stuff at Microsoft that I was really excited by. I thought Redfall looked fantastic. I don't know that we actually saw any gameplay for Redfall, but I love, Arcane, Austin. It's good to see some good Austin devs putting, between Castlevania and Redfall. It's like Austin is like the vampire capital of the world right now in media. That got me really excited. There was a really beautiful pixel art game that was shown that like kind of blew my mind as far as like what was possible. Replaced. That's right. Thank you very much. Yeah. Replaced looked incredible. Like just the fluidity of the animation and the lighting and everything. I was like, man, this is setting a new bar for pixel art. So I was really blown away by that.
And that's an Xbox exclusive too, right? Like, which I think,
I think so. Yeah.
A lot of people historically criticize Xbox for, but they've showed off a bunch of stuff.
They showed off a bunch of stuff that's going to Game Pass day one, so that's exciting. And then the only other one I'll really mention that was really stood out to me from the Xbox conference was Stalker 2. I thought that had some of the absolute best facial animation I've ever seen in a game. I think it's one of the best looking games I've ever seen in my life. And just like, that was the first time I'd seen a video game where somebody like comes right up to the camera and is talking to you. And I was like, I am getting zero Uncanny Valley vibes.
Mm-hmm.
It just like felt completely natural. So that if they can pull it off in game, I'm going to be really, really impressed.
As like compared to like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a little little uncanny, little weird.
Yeah, every other game I was just after, because it was early on in the Xbox conference. Every game that passed that, I was just comparing the facial animations to Stalker, and I was like, oh, well, looks terrible comparatively.
Yeah, I also loved it. I would give this also a solid A. Like in comparison, I'm a Halo fan. Showed Halo Infinite, showed more of it, loved it. And just my whole takeaway was coming to Game Pass. And everyone on the Discord, was saying the same thing. Like this increases the value of Game Pass significantly more. Like 90% of the games showed, and they showed like 25 games were coming to Game Pass. They announced flight simulators coming to Game Pass, coming to Xbox in a month. I'm excited. Let's squad up, fam.
Dude, absolutely. I'll be playing the especially if we can play online together.
We can.
Have a ton of fun with that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. It's gonna be a chill game. Let's check out the Grand Canyon together.
I love that.
Let's do it. That's it. I only want to see the Grand Canyon. Some other games that they showed. Some surprises. They have like the Pirates of the Caribbean, Sea of Thieves DLC. What Microsoft is doing is they are similar. Like they're taking this Netflix model where they're just like creating a bunch of shit and throwing a bunch of shit to see if it sticks.
Right.
And I think if they're doing it for Game Pass and following the similar model, I think it might work. People are going to subscribe. Credible value. Man, it was crazy. But if I can, Halo Infinite, it was great. I play Halo and talk about Halo all the time. And I'm really excited how this shifts from still uses old mechanics and new mechanics. And it looks cool. It's got equipment. It's going to be free to play, cross play, PC, Xbox.
Yeah, they said the multiplayer is coming out same day as the campaign too.
That's right,
which some
baby.
people were wondering about, and that should both be this year. They said this holiday, 2021.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about Starfield, right?
No, we haven't yet.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and there's Starfield, but we didn't see much of
Yeah.
Starfield.
Just got a
we,
release date, right?
we got a release date,
For
but we
next
didn't see
year.
any gameplay or even what the game is like. We didn't get any of that. We just got kind of a cinematic. That having been said, they did announce that it is going to be Xbox exclusive, which some people were wondering about, which I don't think anybody was surprised by, but it's also kind of like, I'm glad Microsoft isn't getting cucked into thinking that they need to release this on PlayStation. They did spend the money for it, so they might as well make it an exclusive.
It seems like they have a lot more exclusives nowadays. And then, like you said, the Game Pass thing just seems huge. A lot of games that maybe have even released on other consoles or coming to Game Pass now and stuff. It's just value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, just a couple more things about the Microsoft conferences. I said earlier, like there's a lot of tactics games, but it seems like there's a lot of Left 4 Dead kind of style games right now. Back 4 Blood's coming. There's an Aliens one coming out. The game you talked about, the one by
Redfall.
Okay, Redfall. That's like
the vampire version of Left 4 Dead, kind of.
Exactly. And then there's like a 70s space one that came out earlier this week. I think maybe in the Ubisoft conference. It seems like a lot of the hero Left 4 Dead style games are kind of coming back.
Yeah, I definitely got the feel from Redfall that it was a bit more story based and a little bit more single player focused, or maybe not single player. It looked like co-op, but it looked a bit more story based, I think.
Yeah, as opposed to like PvP based. Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. There was that Evil Dead game too that was shown off. That's kind of giving me those vibes a little bit. Although that's maybe more Friday the 13th, Dead by Daylight style.
Well, there were a number of other conferences, but like you talked about, these were kind of the big ones. So I don't know if there's anything y'all want to mention about the rest of E3.
Square was a massive disappointment. I felt like there was pretty much nothing good to see in there. I mean, like Guardians of the Galaxy looks all right, but again, I wish that was a Deus Ex game instead. Like I said last week when we heard that there might be a Guardians of the Galaxy game, I was like, this looks kind of like comedy Mass Effect, I guess, but that doesn't really interest me that much.
There's the Final Fantasy Origin thing, right?
Yeah.
What is that? Yeah.
I have zero interest in that personally.
Chaos, man.
They announced, we got some chaos memes out of it. I mean, whatever. That game might be incredible. Looks like shit to me. Looks very bland and colorless and lifeless. But one thing that we should talk about, one thing that I was like, for sure, like, oh, okay, well, Square will definitely have this in the Nintendo Direct, was the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection, which is Final Fantasy 1 through 6 being released only on mobile and Steam.
It's interesting.
It was like, dude, why the fuck aren't you putting that on the Switch? It just doesn't make.
If you're going to put it on any console, the Switch would make a lot of sense. And
Switch is the console where all the mobile ports go.
I think it was Summer posted the kind of like analysis picture of the sprites from the originals and from this remake, and they just don't. It kind of like, why even redo it if the sprites aren't even that interesting? Like it just didn't seem to me, as somebody who loved those games. I mean, it doesn't seem worth it even.
What I took away is that they're just basically making these games look like pretty much they did originally, but widescreen, right?
Yeah.
With maybe some quality of life improvements. We don't know because they didn't say anything about it. But it's like very, very frustrating to see that another year will go by where I can't play Final Fantasy VI on my Switch.
Yeah, I'd be interested to play some of those.
Yeah. Ubisoft was disappointing also. We had Far Cry 6, which looks kind of cool, but also like kind of something is weird about it. It doesn't really feel right to me. I don't know. It's like, I don't think that game knows what it wants to be, like a super serious story or like super goofy. That didn't really feel very good to me. Although I will say the Avatar game kind of has promise if they can pull that off and do it right. I know there's a lot of Avatar movies coming out, but we just barely saw anything. So it's hard for me to really base anything off that.
Speaking of Ubisoft, they showed Riders Republic, which is this like, bicycling, skydiving,
snowboarding
game. That seems fun. It seems fun for a weekend game. play with my buds. Go to the Grand Canyon if you guys want to go to the Grand Canyon again. We'd skate around.
Yeah, in your wingsuit, right?
Yeah,
You
in my
fly
wingsuit.
around. Yeah.
It
It definitely
looks
seems fun. It's just another Ubisoft Games as a Service game, right? That's what it seems like. Definitely looks like fun, but it definitely also seems like that's
Gonna try to
Ubisoft's
sell me
MO
something
right now. Right.
Mhm.
Maybe real briefly before we wrap up, and again, this episode is going a little long, but I think that we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Sony not being at E3. This is something I brought up in the Discord, but I feel like when Sony dropped out of E3 before even COVID happened, back when they were like, we're going to do our own thing, I think they saw Nintendo doing their directs and being like, oh, well, we can do that. And we don't have to pay all this money to the ESA and we can do our own thing. We're in the lead right now. So like we can kind of do whatever we want. Right. And I think that they kind of expected everybody to sort of follow suit. Right. And sort of be like, okay, well, yeah, we don't need E3. We're going to do our own things. We're going to follow Sony and take their example. But you can't help but feel like they were really missed from this E3. Right.
Mhm.
It's like Sony is apparently doing really well and their games are selling well and they're selling out of their PS5s and everything, but you wouldn't know it from watching E3 this year, right?
Yeah, it does. It feels weird. Like we just went through a global pandemic. Video game sales have increased. Everyone's making millions and billions of dollars, including Sony, including all these other corporations. Like, just come hang out. We're all celebrating this wonderful industry that we all love. Just like come to the party.
Yeah. You have any thoughts about Sony? Like, do you think they should come back to E3 or do you think they're being purposefully exclusionary?
That's the way that it feels.
Yeah. When you said it in the Discord, I was like, yeah, I agree. That does kind of feel like it makes them look bad.
Yeah, right.
I don't know that that's true to the average gamer who doesn't spend a lot of time thinking about this kind of stuff, but definitely did kind of feel
makes them feel a little snooty, right? Like they're too good for E3 or whatever. It's like, bro, like they've got the content, they've got games coming out, like they've got a lot of stuff like on the horizon. They've got a good like schedule of stuff that I would have loved to have seen here.
Yeah, they could line up a state of play to be at this.
Right. But at the same time, but it just kind of makes me feel like they don't want to be part of the party, and it's like, I don't know. That was a little disappointing to me. I wish they would reverse that, kind of go back to I don't know. I think there's some weird stuff going on at Sony right now. I think that they're like moving around a lot in the back end, and I think that, obviously they've stopped working with a lot of their Japanese studios. So I think maybe Sony's having a bit of an identity crisis right now. And they don't have as many PS5s out there as they want. So they're not able to really put out the games that they're kind of sitting on right now. So whatever. I hope they can figure that out by next year. I'd love to see them back at E3.
Well, overall, it was a different E3 this year. There were some highlights, and Nintendo was definitely one of them. Awesome Nintendo Direct. Really excited about a lot of these games coming out, honestly, very soon. Over the next 4 or 5 months, we got a lot of interesting new and old games to rediscover or discover. So I'm really happy after watching this presentation. Most pumped for Metroid Dread, personally. Any final thoughts from y'all and before we move on?
It's good to be back, man. It's good to be back to have 4 or 5 days of hype, talk about video games. It was great. Love to see the Discord and people just like sharing their favorite trailers, their favorite screenshots, their favorite memes.
Yeah. Shout out to the Discord, man. This E3 was definitely peak Discord, I think. Maybe not at the very height of Animal Crossing, but it was like I was definitely getting the height of Animal Crossing vibes from our Discord community this week. It was really awesome to see everybody get together. I think we had like 10 or maybe even 12 people in the voice chat today when we were watching the Nintendo Direct, so that was a blast. I wasn't able to watch the Microsoft conference with you guys, but I bet that was also super fun. I just really hope next year that E3 is in person, and if it is, I can't wait to go. 2019 was going to be our first year going to E3. And I really still hope to really go and be able to cover it next year in person and kind of feed off of that energy that was kind of missing. That like the secret sauce was kind of missing this year from E3, and I think that's what it was, and hopefully we're back to that next year.
Awesome. Well, we'll take a real short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the games we've been playing recently. All right, so the main thing I want to talk about this week is Game Builder Garage for the Switch. Came out on Friday, and I am really interested to see what our Switch shows for hours played on this thing, because it has hardly turned off while my son is awake.
That's great.
I have been woken up every morning at 6:30 a.m. with a 6-year-old's face in my face going, "I'm going to play Game Builder Garage," in the loudest whisper he can do. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but I'm going to sleep for another hour.
Wait, why does he does just want to turn it on without notifying
I don't know.
you first?
He does this to me. I don't know why, but it's funny. It's awesome. You know, he's 6. So there's some programming stuff in it that's above his head, but it's honestly been amazing to watch him still get some of it. And like we've done almost all, we're on the last tutorial. There are 7 tutorials, example programs that it walks you through. And I think it does a really good job of this, with a lot of charm and Nintendo personality. And there are limitations to this. You know, I'm simultaneously learning Unity. So it's kind of interesting I'm like breathing video games lately. But like,
you're eating video games, huh?
I'm eating them.
Yeah.
I was trying to say,
eating
like,
them, breathing them,
what's
drinking
the
them,
phrase that I was trying to say? Eat, living, breathing, dreaming.
You're eating, breathing, fucking video games.
Yeah.
You're eating, you're praying, you're loving them.
Yeah. That's what it is.
You know, the community is still kind of figuring out what you can do with these tools. I've been kind of following on Reddit, and there's like a website people have made now to like share codes and stuff. I haven't downloaded as many of them to test out as I want, because my son is just making games, and like, it's really been amazing how absorbed he's gotten into this. He's a maker, so it's not this is gonna happen to every kid, but like, it's been a lot of fun, and just really honestly kind of fascinating to watch him kind of memorize some of these things, that because he can't read super well. He can read a little bit, but you know, like, and he also can't do high level math, and some of this stuff requires at least, you know, positioning on an XYZ axis, and like, he doesn't always get all of that, but like, he kind of gets some of it. It's really interesting.
Well, that sounds really fascinating, just in what avenue a developing brain decides to go down, right? Because it sounds like Magnus is like a super creative kid, you know.
He's a maker.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And it's like, and it's good, I think, early to like see. It's cool that you've been able to have this experience with him, like learning to code in this kind of visual format.
Yeah, because
it's like showing that it's like, you know, well, these are the avenues that he'll be able to like really flourish in at an early age, right? You know, I kind of wish I had something like this in an early age, just to like kind of see like where I know I would be able to go, instead of like wasting my time trying to shoehorn me into like some avenue I know that's never going to be my shit. You know what I mean? So that's really cool. I think that would be a fascinating position as a parent to be in.
It is. And, you know, sometimes he'll need my help to kind of figure some stuff out, but I'm impressed where he will get it in handheld and be like, no, I'm good. You know what I mean? And like, I'll kind of be hovering not to help him, just because like, hey, this is my time to be hanging out with him. And 30 minutes will go by, and I'm like, well, I guess at least he's, you know, engaged in some making activity rather than just passively absorbing.
Game Builder Garage is his dad now.
Yeah. Like, I can, or I'm done. I'll see y'all later.
Watch me build a new dad.
Yeah, exactly. I have a question about Game Builder Garage.
Yeah.
Because I haven't bought the game personally, because I don't know that I'll have time to like really put into making my own games. But I am interested in playing some of the games. And I know you bought the game digitally, so I downloaded your copy, Patrick.
Yeah.
How long until... Because downloading games is built into the free programming mode, right?
You have to complete the first tutorial.
So just the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Though if you want to do programming, there are certain things. I couldn't find this anywhere, but I swear that it doesn't unlock everything right away. And it's really weird what it won't let you do. Like you can't put certain variables into certain, they're called nodons, like functions almost like.
Right.
You can only put whole numbers into some where later you can put in decimals after you go through the tutorial that does that. Because it was bothering me. We were trying to do stuff because he wants to do stuff. So we'll like do a tutorial and then he's like, he wants to go recreate that.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'm kind of proud of him because I'll be like, well, it'd be easier to just copy the previous game, but he wants to do it from scratch, which I think is better. But like, so then I'm trying to do certain things. I don't know. I'm rambling a lot about him and not necessarily like the game itself. I could talk more about the limitations or the
well, you're the dad of the podcast. It's okay. You can talk about it.
But it's been a big part of my experience with it.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it was me, I'm not sure I would have spent as much time free programming so far. I would have finished the tutorials first, and I would have tried playing other people's games and looking at their code more, because you can look at their code than he's wanted to do. But he's been doing a lot of experimentation, which is great. So
yeah, that's awesome. I will play at least the first tutorial on your copy of the game.
Do that,
I
and
have
then you can
downloaded.
download some.
Because I've been looking at across YouTube and Reddit and stuff, and all the stuff people are making, and I'm like, fuck, this looks awesome. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff I've already seen that's like really robust. Like there's a Harvest Moon-ish game, like kind of that seemed to be really kind of long, at least as far as a lot of these games are concerned.
That's interesting. I'd be curious to see that code because one of the bigger limitations is you're limited by how many, they're called nodons, is within the game, which is kind of essentially like, objects or functions in programming. You're limited to a certain amount of them.
It's 512, right?
I don't even know because I've not gotten up there and I haven't read about it, but that it's probably what it is. But like, so you can't make a huge game. You're also limited by the dimensions that they provide for your game. Like the grid is an infinite. So like, I don't think you can make, more than a few levels if you warp your player around. There's just some limitations in terms of levels and that kind of stuff.
I do know there's a function, I believe, to load new games when you finish one game. So like, as long as the person that you're having download your game downloads all the games in your set, you could build like a multi-level experience.
Nice. I had not, I have not gotten. See, these are the kind of things that I think I would be exploring if I could get my damn hands on the game.
Yeah. Well, you've got your Switch Lite, man. You just play it in the meantime. Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I've been doing. That was a long talk about that, but it's kind of been a big part of my life the last 3 days or whatever.
Fascinating.
It's been.
This is now a Game Builder Garage podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
I'll go next. I'm shining Chrome all day. I've been playing Mad Max nonstop.
That's nice.
Wow. Still sticking with it.
Still talking about it. Here I am 1 week later playing the game. I just rewatched Mad Max yesterday, actually. So I'm apparently
the Fury Road.
No, the original.
Okay, nice.
Love it. And I'm I guess I'm a Mad Max fan. What can I say? That's what I've primarily been playing. And just been hanging.
Hell yeah, man. That was a very brief games we've been playing compared to Patrick's novel he just found.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
I'm glad we figured out that, Patrick, that you're the dad of the podcast, because I've been wondering that picture that Summer shared where it showed all of the male Pixar characters.
Yeah.
All podcasts have the same
from
3 people hosting it.
Yeah.
I'm the one with the stash, the guy from inside.
Oh, no, that's Matt.
Oh,
that's
okay,
Matt. You're the Ratatouille guy, and I'm the guy who fucks with the toy.
I'm the dad of the rat.
You're the dad of the rat.
Anyway, people who aren't in our Discord probably have no idea what's going on. So join our Discord. There's a plug. Anyway, moving on to me and what I've been playing. I've been playing 2 games basically. I've been playing more Mario Galaxy, obviously, but I've been streaming a little bit this past week, and 2 games I played on stream. First of all, I just want to give a shout out. I played Mario Maker 2 online multiplayer the other day on stream, and I had a fucking blast, man. Also, that was the first time one of my streams has gotten into the double digits, so I was very excited about that. I think actually playing a game that people want to watch on Twitch helps with that.
Wave Race.
Wave Race Blue Storm.
Wave Race Blue Storm didn't get a lot of like live viewers, but it has gotten like a lot of views on the VOD since it's been up. So I'm like, hey, okay, maybe people just are too embarrassed. Wave Race fans are too embarrassed to be in the chat. But no, that was
Wave
super
Race
fun.
fans are shy.
Yeah. Wave Race fans are super shy. That's one of the things that defines them. Anyway, especially Blue Storm stands. But anyway, online Mario Maker is so fun. It's just a fucking tragedy that game is marred by such a bad netcode, because Mario Maker 2 online multiplayer competitive is like some of the best gaming Nintendo has ever done. It's like taking the fucking beautiful, perfect formula of 2D Mario, which has been honed by decades of development from Mario, and putting it online. And then the way that Mario 35 just works, and the way Tetris 99 just works, and the transitioning of these games into an online competitive way just works. Super Mario Maker 2 is so good online. It's just the netcode, like, you just get these terrible, terrible lag matches. But other than that, I had a great time. Actually, one of the players that I played against, who like basically went onto Twitch after I played against them and found my stream and was in the chat and being like, hey, I think I just played against you online. And then like I friended him, and then we started playing, or him or her, I'm actually not sure. And then we then made like a private room. It was me, Jay, and them, and DCD all started playing online. So that was a total blast.
That's cool.
So I'll definitely be doing that more as I made it from B rank to A rank. I'll be hopefully doing a series of Twitch streams where I make it to S rank. So that was a blast. And then the other game I've been playing this week is Umurangi Generation. And this is a game I've talked about on the podcast before. It's a photography simulator. It's kind of a dystopian photography simulator set in a world that has been blindsided by a climate apocalypse of sorts. And the UN has kind of taken over, and there's kind of a fascist state happening in these sort of cyberpunky sort of towns. And it's kind of this low poly, sort of low resolution photography game that gives you a lot more control than something like Pokemon Snap does. You can actually move around. It's not just on rails. You kind of have free reign around an area, and then you've got a set amount of time to take these photos. But even if you don't hit that time limit, you can still beat the level. You just get better unlocks if you beat it in a certain amount of time. And I've been having a blast with this game so far. It's super fun. You have a lot more control over the final picture. You can change the exposure, the bloom, the contrast, all this different kind of stuff like that. You unlock these features in your camera over time as you play the game. And I tweeted that I was going to be playing this game, and one of the developers of the game actually sat in on my stream and was giving me hints every once in a while as I was playing, which was super fun. That's cool. So that was really cool to have them in the chat while I was playing. And yeah, if you're a fan of Pokemon Snap and you like that style of gameplay, and you want something that is like inherently anti-fascist and very politically like set in its ways, I would really recommend Umurangi Generation. It's just got a great aesthetic, really great soundtrack, and it's also a really great exploration of Maori culture as well. There's a lot of like kind of South Asian and that area of just culture that I'm not super familiar with, but they bring that into a lot of the kind of environments in the game. And there's a lot of like Maori, like gods that are represented like through these kind of shrines that are throughout it. And it just brings a lot of the culture in there. And I think that's kind of an unrepresented part of video games, and at least in storytelling. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of the game as well. So if you're interested at all in any of that stuff, I would definitely check out Umurangi Generation. The Switch port is a little bit more expensive than it is on Steam, but it does have motion controls added in, and it's got some new features and gameplay modes that were added. So it's definitely worth checking out. And that's what I've been playing this week.
Awesome. Well, that's our episode on E3. Thanks. Let us know what you thought about E3 too. We didn't never get a chance to say that, but or the Nintendo Direct, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm on Twitter, Matthew MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And if you'd like to check our show out on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter. We are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. And then, of course, if you'd like to join our community of friends and fans, you can join our Discord or our Facebook group, both of which will have links in the description of this video or podcast. Please join those. If anything, this E3 week has really proven that it's been a great community to be a part of. And it's not so big that it's overwhelming. We had a new user recently pop in and was like, oh man, actually seems like a really nice community. I've been a fan for a while. We were like, yes, welcome. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's true. If you've been listening to the show and you haven't joined the communities yet, don't let that put you off or be afraid to join, because it's really one of the best communities on the internet as far as I'm concerned. If you want a nice, non-toxic place to talk about video games and hang out with friends, I love the community that we've been able to build. So yeah, please join us on Discord or Facebook. And then other than that, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, so much for listening to our episode on our E3 reactions. We'll be back next week with an incredible episode. Can't wait to get that to you guys. But until then, everybody be safe out there. Keep living your lives. Be happy. Be grateful for the life that is given to us from the universe. I don't know what I'm saying. We'll see you guys. Now that I'm not like a fucking shoehorning COVID warnings into the ending, I just don't know how to end the show. So I'm just going to say thank you very much. We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.